sleeve. And I do remember going to India in my younger years and feeling such a longing for what I perceived in the field, in the shrines, with the women, with the deities, with the smells. There was such a feeling of that God was not up here, but was in the touch, in the smells, in the way I witnessed, the guardian of a shrine tending to her altar, and I felt such a recognition and yet such a disconnect from it. It was really very strong sense that I knew it and yet I had lost it, and I didn't have any idea how to. And it had to do, if I had to put words, it had to do with the feminine face of God, the goddess, but I had no idea. I mean, our culture is so cut off from that. um it had to do with the body, but not my personal body, although that was going to be the pathway. It had to do with some other body that I could, it's sort of a, it was mysterious anyway. And so I went back to the West and continued my search and did various things that were very helpful, sort of with the body, authentic movement and Jungian things that were, but they were more psychological. And continued with a non-dual and my teacher, and he did offer yoga, but it was still a sort of yoga that where we use the mind a lot. And then I went to see another teacher who, in the same lineage. So my first teacher is Francis Lucille, who's in the non-dual tradition, and then I went to see another teacher called Eric Barret, who is also was a student of Jean Klein. So it's a real tradition. And Jean Klein had a Kashmir Shaivaist teacher in India. And when I went to see Eric, I just remember, and again, the words are gonna fail, but I remember because it was nonverbal and non-conceptual, and we just listened to the body, as I try to invite in my own meetings. But for long periods of times, we would be sitting in silence. There would be silence and the body, and some explorations with the breath. And he would always burn the incense. And there was something about the way Eric did it that was because he loves India too. So he would bring that somehow into the sessions with the incense and the way he sat. But it was, and of course, then it was just so interior and so non-conceptual and so silent and yet so vibrational. There was a recognition that came, a tactile recognition, I want to say, I can't put it into words, I'm afraid. It's also neti. It might just really put you in touch with the limitation imposed on the body mind through the belief in separation, but you come into contact with it on a very subtle body level. Not subtle to begin with, because to begin with you just feel that how contracted and resistance, but as you listen and you listen, it becomes more subtle, and you don't no longer have to translate it into words. You just are exploring life itself, life with her way of playing hide and seek with herself. So the person being sometimes the limited separate one, and right the next moment just the person and life being again reunited, and the flow and the vibration and the sense of borderlessness and the sense of just life. It's just not conceptual at all. And then back into a moment, and there's no hierarchy, there's no preference. It's not about trying to get rid of the separate person. It's none of that. It's just really